Hello and welcome to another episode of the NYN Show. I have with me one of my favorite people to talk to today, so I will let him introduce himself. So, Pastor Kwame, who are you?
Hello, everyone. My name is Kwame Sarpong, but I'm known to many as Pastor Kwame Sarpong. I'm currently the intern pastor at London, Ghana in Prince Emmanuel Churches.
Okay, so yep, he is a pastor, and as you can see, he's very young. So, Pastor, give us a bit about your background. Where were you born? Do you have parents? Do you have siblings?
Yes, where I was born in London, England.
Okay.
More specifically, St. George's Hospital in Tooting.
Okay.
And I spent most of my childhood in Mitcham. That's where I grew up. Moved to Streatham, studied. Have two parents, Elder Kofi Sarpong, his wife, that's my mum, Esther Mensa Sarpong.
Yeah.
And I'm the second of five kids.
Okay.
My eldest brother is Pa Kwesi, then it's me, then it's Kwabena Kwesi, and then the youngest of us is Madra. She's the only girl.
That's interesting. So none of your siblings have English names?
As far as I'm aware now.
Your parents, Sarpong, they're Ghanaians, aren't they?
That's correct.
Pastor, what country pa me boa?
Kakra.
Eba ni say now to me country kama say.
Say me mama ni me papa nti. That tree na nkwana it was my first language.
I see.
But as soon as I went to school, then brofo bae nti. I'm battling with it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think you're doing brilliantly because not a lot of young people like yourselves who have been born here can't speak as much tree as you do. So well done.
Thank you.
But so you schooled in Mitcham for a bit. Tell us a bit about your educational background.
Education, yes. So I went to school in Mitcham. So I went to school, Benedict Primary School. Mm-hmm. That's where I went to school. And after that, I went to secondary school, to Rutledge Secondary School. And that was a boys' school. Mm-hmm. After that, I went to do sixth form at Burntwood School. That's actually in Tooting. Mm-hmm. And then after that, that's when I went to go and do my studies in terms of my degree in theology, in where I've trained to become a pastor. And that one is a bit interesting because I did my first year at Newbold College here in England, and then I transferred to Jamaica, Northern Caribbean University, formerly known as West Indies College. And then after that year, I then transferred to Trinidad, to the University of the Southern Caribbean, formerly known as Caribbean Union College. And it was there that I completed my degree in terms of my bachelor's in theology. After that, I came back to UK, to Newbold, and completed my master's.
That is interesting. So, Pastor, I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, God, how old could he be? Is he 21? Is he 25? Can I ask your age, Pastor?
Yes, you can. I'm currently 27. I'm going to be 28 very soon.
My goodness, you're very young. So I'm just thinking, a young man, maybe 18, 19, doing university in the Caribbean. And you did theology.
Yes.
So, firstly, there are a lot of young people your age who are not even in church.
Yeah.
You know, you dare not speak to them about church. But you are not only in church, you actually have trained to become a pastor. Mm-hmm. What inspired you to choose that career pathway instead of something else?
Oh, well, in terms of me choosing to be a pastor, it was one that it's not something that I jumped at straight away. Mm-hmm. When I was younger, my passion was also in football as well. And so there was an opportunity for me to go on that path. But like I said, it was a bit of a battle between doing that and doing what God called me to do. And I always knew that I would do something that I would love doing, you know, whether it was to go and do football or to go into ministry. Yeah. And I believe that call was upon my heart at such a young age. And even though I knew this call, it was also confirmed through other people as well. And so in church at a very young age, I started preaching. You know, pastors or leaders gave me the opportunity to preach in their churches. And as time went on, I guess I started to grow into the call, embrace it as well. It was also one that I came to realize that amongst my peers, I was always a bit different. I was always kind of stood out, and I've come to accept that that is part of the call. But yeah, in terms of that journey, that's kind of how and why I'm on this journey right now in terms of being a pastor.
I find it fascinating, and to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I particularly wanted to speak to you, because I'm thinking, you know, you didn't just want to do it in England, you chose the Caribbean as well. So why the Caribbean? Why did you not want to complete the whole degree at Newport, but you did some there and some elsewhere? Why?
Well, I'm someone that I love to somewhat be out of my comfort zone. I feel like that's the best way where I thrive. I actually love it. And so me going to the Caribbean to go and study was one of those ways in which I can get out of my comfort zone. I'm not going to lie, initially I did want to go to America to go and study, but when I spoke to my dad about it, he said, I mean, the funds is not good there because, you know, fees in America are very expensive. But when the opportunity to go to the Caribbean came, it was very interesting. And that's where some people kind of started coming out of the works, where I realized they said they actually went to go and study there and said it was a great experience for them. So for me, it was all about getting out of my comfort zone, going to somewhat find myself, you know, because sometimes we don't understand or discover who we really are until we're put in certain situations. And for me, going to the Caribbean, I was able to discover gifts that I didn't think I had. You know, I was able to get out of my comfort zone to the point where I wasn't complacent or just moving through the motions anymore. It was where I really had to stand up, be who I am, embrace who I am, embrace my gifts as well, the ones that I would sometimes shun or hide away. And yeah, it just set me on a path to be and understand who God really has called me to be and what I have to be able to give, not only in service to Him, but to other people as well.
That's beautiful. So let's talk a bit more about the gifts that you said that you were able to discover gifts and talents and other things. What are some of the gifts you think you've been, or some of the things you've been gifted with?
Yes, well, there's quite a few. So there is, in terms of the preaching aspect, I'm not gonna lie, I'm someone naturally, I'm an easygoing person, but I'm also quite shy because of just in terms of my personality type. But I realized when I went out there, in terms of the wisdom that God has blessed me with, and it was a bit weird because when people would always tell me this, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. This is just, you know, common sense. But God has revealed to me, and as I've preached in various places, and sometimes when I talk about preaching, it's not necessarily standing on the pulpit, but also just interacting daily with people. And that's something that I've realized as a gift and I've used in my ministry. But the one that I think one of the main things that has definitely come out of the Caribbean was a musical gift. One that, if I'm going to be honest, I didn't really classify it as a gift. I just thought it was just a skill that I was just working at, and I was pretty good. But as I went there, and then I even got put in positions where I was actually leading people musically, and people were saying, man, what you have is a gift. Not many people can do that. And so it's from there that I might even add in terms of the question about my studies. When I was out there in the Caribbean, I did do a little bit of studies in music as well.
I see.
And I'm actually currently pursuing that as well, in addition to other things. So music is one of those gifts. In terms of that main one, I would say, apart from the preaching and everything as well. Music is a gift that I've managed to discover when I was out there.
That's good. Thanks for sharing that. So Pastor Kwame, as he said, he's a pastor, associate pastor in my church, and I've been privileged to sit and listen to him preach, and boy, you preach so well. I think I've told you before, because your sermon they aren't long, they're just straight to the point. And also I think for a young pastor, you appeal to people in a different way. So you don't come across as like, hey, here is the Bible, I'm waving it in your face.
Yeah.
Because people don't always like that. But you have a way to get to people. And I think it's worth me mentioning that that's something that you do very well, and keep it up. I want to take us a step back. I mean, you've talked about music. Actually, before we come to that, maybe we should just listen to some of your music, because I know you're part of Anointed Saints.
That's correct.
Talk to me about Anointed Saints, and then I'll come to your parents and ask you more questions about that. What is Anointed Saints in?
Anointed Saints is a group, an all-male quartet currently. That was started actually by my two friends, myself, Emmanuel Say, and Richard Bequin as well.
Okay.
So us three friends, we liked a cappella singing, we love music, and we just decided, hey, one day we were singing together, and we said, hey, let's start a group, and then we got other people to join in as well. And then as time went on, we just kept improving. I mean, when we started off, it sounded bad. But, as time went on, we kept, working on our craft. Because what it was is the willingness was there. And what we wanted to do is just inspire young men. And as time has gone on, I've kind of gone on to redefine that a bit more and say, especially inspire young black men now to understand that the gifts that you have, don't shy away from it, especially when it comes to music. There's always a way to do it, and these gifts that you've been given, they're used to go and touch people's lives, where you're supposed to be a blessing for others. And so Anointed Saints is that, in terms of that's what it stands for, not only in terms of preaching the gospel through music, but also impacting people on that level as well.
That's good. So you said that there were two other friends of yours that started the group, but I know there are four of you now, and those two friends of yours are not in there. So who do you have in Anointed Saints now?
Yes, well, currently there is my younger brother, Kwabena.
Okay.
I kind of pulled him in because, to be fair, everything I do musically, I always make sure he learns it as well. He's almost like my guinea pig at home. So anything I do, he knows it as well. I always get him to sing a part. And then there's Andrew, or Kofi Jumo as we know him. That's actually Emmanuel's cousin. So when Emmanuel was leaving, because his dad is a pastor, Pastor Emmanuel Say, he used to be pastor of our church. When they moved to America, Emmanuel said he wants Andrew to join and be the bass singer. So Andrew is the one that sings the bass. And then we have the maestro / superstar, Malcolm Achampong, whom we asked to join recently. And so, currently that's the current lineup. And then myself as well. So right now, that's the current lineup of the Anointed Saints.
That's beautiful, and I've had the honor of enjoying some of your music. So should we just take a short break and listen to some music by Anointed Saints?
Sure.
Oh, Ghana, Ghana, God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong, bold to defend forever the cause of freedom and of right. Fill our hearts with humility, make us cherish fearless honesty,
Welcome back then. So, Pastor, let me take us a step back to look at your parents. So, here you go to them and say, hey, Daddy, I finished sixth form, but I don't want to go to uni to do pharmacy or teaching or medicine or accounting, but I want to be a pastor. What was their reaction, or your mum or your dad? How did they react?
Well, to be honest, I didn't actually have that formal conversation with them.
Okay.
I believe they always knew that was the path I was going to take. If anything, I just alerted them that, hey, I'm going to study theology, sign this paper. I mean, but to be fair, I'm at 18, they probably didn't need to, but just letting them know in terms of that's where I was going. Yeah, so with regards to that, I think they already knew, especially with the path that I was going on, because as much as football was a bit of there was a tug there. It did get to a point where I did accept that football was not going to be the path that I would go on. And so, yeah, in terms of going into ministry, it's nothing, I don't think it would have been surprising for them.
Yeah.
If it was, then hey, that's a surprise for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I'm
That's
saying.
good. You've shared your interest and passion about football, and is it safe to conclude that because you're serving the Adventist that you couldn't pursue football because most of the matches are played on Sabbath? Is that right?
That is correct.
What else?
Yeah, as in it is in terms of that. Even the trial that I was supposed to go on, it was actually on a Saturday,
Yes. Yeah.
and so yeah, that just wasn't going to happen. Obviously, at a young age, when you hear that opportunity come in,
Yeah.
you said, "Oh yeah, I want to go." And so when your parent says, "No, you can't because it's on Sabbath," see, at the time, it did crush me.
I can imagine.
But as time went on, you know, especially when you start understanding the word for yourself, understanding who God is and His will and His principles, and when I say principles in terms of law, that is something that I started to understand and live by. And so being a footballer, as great as it would have been, and I know, you know, I believe God would have probably used me in a way to make an impact there. There's still that aspect of principles, upholding certain principles, in which what I would say, does my life back it up?
Okay.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I mean, if there was another avenue, I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
But right now, that's kind of why I didn't go in that direction.
Oh, good. Well, I say good, but well, good because maybe if you had gone there, you probably wouldn't be enjoying the sermons you give us from time to time. But you know, are you involved in football of any kind, like whether it's for recreational purposes or not? Do you play football?
Definitely, yes. That's something I don't think I can stop.
Okay.
Because, and I dare to say, football was almost like my first love.
Ah.
Yeah, like I have a very special place for football. So I still play. I play with Jam FC.
Oh, okay.
So Jam is Jesus and Ministries. So that's actually a prayer meeting group, but led by youth.
Okay.
And so what they did, they started a football team, and then the manager, that's Philip Osudakwa. He asked me to join that team. I think at the time I was probably about 17 or so. And so, yeah, I was like one of the first players that started off Jam. And since then, I've just been playing with them. Even though I'll be going here and there to uni, whenever I come back, I still play with them.
That's great. So that's like 10 years now then, because you're about 27.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you support any football team?
Yes, the team that I support is Arsenal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Arsenal.
Yeah.
Interested, because I know they weren't doing too great
Yeah,
recently. I don't know whether they've improved since, but hey.
Yeah, I mean, let me be honest. I don't say it with my chest anymore because Arsenal, they haven't been too great.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm still a faithful supporter. I'm a committed person.
That's
so, yeah, Arsenal's my team.
Cool. So, Pastor, I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. So, what if somebody should say, oh, he chose to be a pastor because that's an easy career pathway? Medicine or teaching or pharmacy would have been too difficult for him. What would you say to that person?
That is entirely wrong because pastoring is not an easy path to take, because this is a line of work or a study where it involves your whole life, you know, and that's not in terms of when you actually get into pastoral work, but even from your studying, because whatever you're studying is something where your belief system is challenged, your faith is challenged, because not only are you just focusing on the Bible, but you're also focusing on things surrounding it, you know. And so when it comes to reading the Bible now, we're able to look at it very critically. And because of that critical mind, that can really take you off, you know. So if I'm going to be honest, I have studied with people who, or know of people who have studied theology, and became where they got to a point where they just don't believe in God anymore. And so if that can make an impact on someone, I would never say that this degree is easy, because you also have to have that critical mind to be able to do it. And there's so many practical aspects as well where you're almost learning everything. So in that theology class, especially if it's gearing towards pastoral ministry, you're learning things about youth, you're learning about things about counseling, you know, you're learning things about the actual Bible in terms of the original languages, Greek and Hebrew. And then there's also the practical aspect in terms of preaching, the other aspects of, and other things. There's so many things to name right now. But theology is not a degree where you can just walk in quickly and be out. You know, it is one where, especially if you're studying it properly, I would say, that's for any subject anyway, but if you're studying it properly, you realize it's one that's not easy at all.
Okay, that's great. So as a young British-born Ghanaian, if I can say that, what was it like in the Caribbean? Did you face any prejudice, or was there any racism? Because when we talk racism, we think of whites are racist towards blacks, but you've been from this background and finding yourself in the Caribbean. What was it like for you?
It was fine.
Okay.
I loved it out there. And I'd like to think they loved me too. Because when I went there, because of my demeanor, in terms of, especially when I go into new places, I'm just very quiet. That's as my personality type. And so when I went, you know, I wouldn't speak much, and people wouldn't really notice me until I opened my mouth to speak.
Yeah.
And they would go, wait, you're from foreign? You know? So that's when they start hearing my British accent, and they say, oh. And then that's when they start getting a bit excited, because there's this fascination, about the British accent. And that's not just in the Caribbean, wherever I go.
In America and Canada, they love the British accent.
Which I find quite weird, but you know what, that's another discussion. But then when also they find out that I'm Ghanaian, they get even more excited, because having someone from the motherland is a way in which I feel it almost connected us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so whenever I would talk about certain things, for example, the food that they eat, you know, I say, yeah, in Ghana we have this as well. There's certain aspects of their culture, we have it in Ghana as well. And so it's something that they're really fine with it. They love Ghanaians, one thing I can definitely tell you. So it was amazing out there.
Hopefully they love other Africans as well, but they love Ghanaians more.
Oh yeah, they love Ghanaians, yeah.
Apparently Jamaica says Jamaica. Have you heard that?
Yes.
Okay, so they actually got the name Jamaica from a Ghanaian saying that,
yes.
Jamaica.
Yeah.
Did they tell you that when you went?
I did find out about that, in terms of that's how the name came about. So yeah. And it's a bit funny because where my dad's hometown, Jamasi, apparently they call that Jamaica as well in Ghana, which is a bit interesting. I'm not sure why.
You probably look a bit Caribbean, so you don't look like a typical Ghanaian. Did you get told that?
Yes, I did. And that's why a lot of people didn't notice me in terms of when I was just there. And then they realized, wait, you're not from here? Yeah.
Plus, I've listened to you, you've talked a lot, and I've gathered that you've had to make some difficult choices. For example, choosing to go and continue your studies in the Caribbean instead of America. Obviously, the fees would have been extortionate.
Yeah.
And realistically we couldn't afford it. I say I'm putting myself in your parents' shoes. So you chose to go Caribbean. You've also had to face some challenges because obviously in learning the whole theology package, it comes with learning languages and other things, and also as a young person, you were challenged in different ways. I do wonder whether there are any or there is any specific challenge you can talk about, and also what have been, would you say, your achievements so far, any key achievements?
I think the one challenge I would say, this is the thing that is where I'm now at a point where I thrive on it, was the discovery of who I am and my gifts. Because for me, paying school fees and all that stuff, for me, I took that in my stride just as a part of life, learning and growing and becoming a man. So as much as my parents did help with paying my fees, I also paid my way in terms of working out there, working and studying. It's not easy at all, especially in a foreign country as well. But yeah, in terms of the discovery of myself was one that I think was probably the most challenging one, and probably the greatest achievement as well, because now it's nice to know that I've come out of my shell. It's nice to know that I'm fully embracing who I am, not holding myself back as well, and just understanding that God has bigger and better for me. And so with that in mind, now I can actually go and tell other people, you know what, I see this in you. You may not see it, but I do see it. And then whenever they want to probably get an example of it, it's right in front of you. So that would probably be my biggest challenge, but also biggest achievement as well.
Excellent. Let's talk about girls, Pastor. As a fine young man in the Caribbean, in the UK, wherever else.
Yeah.
What are girls like with you, or what are you like with girls?
Oh, well, that's a very interesting question. I would like to say that I'm a gentleman.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a gentleman, and so I like to treat a woman with respect.
Yeah.
As my mum and older sister as well, cousin, have always taught me, and so I'd like to think I do that. Yeah. How girls are with me, I guess there's always this fascination I've come to realize of me being young, me being a pastor. Yeah. And I used to always think that was kind of what would draw people to me. But I've also come to learn that in terms of my personality, how transparent I am as well and honest. I think that's what kind of would draw women to me. In that respect.
Do you get tempted by girls?
Tempted? I can say that, tempted is very interesting. That's interesting now. Because for me, temptation is one where sometimes it's about, usually when it comes to temptation, we only talk about temptation when we give in, but I could say that I haven't. Maybe I have, but I just kind of brushed it away to the point I've been on my path.
Pastor, you've hesitated a bit on that question.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah. Even
I know.
Jesus was tempted, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, it's true. But it's just to think of it now and just openly say, someone's tempted me, and it's like, have I? Because I've been so focused on who God wants me to be, and not saying that I'm not checking women, but it's just in terms of sometimes if something like that happens, I just pay it no mind, and I say that based on that notion of fleeing from the very appearance of evil, so there's that. But yeah, I could say I have been tempted. I think coming to think of it now, I could say I have been tempted, but yeah, like I said, I just stay clear as much as I can.
So who is the lucky woman right now? Because you're not married yet, are you?
No.
Are you hoping to at some point? Should we start buying a hat?
Right now there's no one. So I guess I'm still on the lookout, or still praying and waiting for that special person. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Okay, so the interview you're watching has been recorded in late 2021, just in case you get to watch it in 2022 and then you see Pastor in a new light, then you know why. So what would your ideal woman be like, Pastor, just in case somebody's watching you and they're thinking, oh, I could be a potential?
Okay, okay. Well, it would be someone who, first of all, knows who they are. Because a lot of people nowadays think they know who they are, but really don't. And so I feel like I need to be with someone that does, especially with the calling that I have. When I say knowing who they are, it also entails you knowing your calling, you knowing your purpose as well. And with that being said, once we join forces, that is where I know that God will definitely do great things for us and through us. So in terms of that, that's one thing that I would say I would definitely look for. And then there's...
How about physical features and that?
Yeah, I'm getting to that part.
Okay,
And then someone who has like a good heart, is genuinely kind, good with people.
Yeah.
So I do look at how they treat their family, because if they don't treat their family well, like I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
How they treat their friends. Someone who loves God, and that does tie into you knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something I'll definitely look for. And then when it comes to physical, someone that catches my eye, you know. I know that sounds very vague.
Yeah.
Before, I was someone I kind of did have a type.
I see.
But as I've grown, I've realized that I kind of have to let go of that.
Okay.
The reason being is because there's beauty in someone that you may not see. So when I say that, is that there's some who, for example, hips may be bigger than someone else, you know, or someone who is, you know, well endowed in terms of specific body parts.
Chest and back and
correct.
everything.
Yeah. Who could look great, but the mindset's not there. You know. So I would say that's something that I don't get too hung up upon, but I can say it is something I do look at. I have to be attracted to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not going to shy away from saying that it would be nice to have someone with a full figure. Yeah.
I was going to ask you that because obviously you're British, but then you've got Ghanaian background, and apparently Ghanaian men, they like the full package, don't they?
That's correct. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm a pescatarian, but me penam. Yeah. So yeah.
So it's good to be honest, and thank you for saying that. I think we're going to wrap up shortly, but I'm just wondering that, you know, your parents, they've been supportive, you know, they supported your dream to become a pastor.
Yeah.
They actually chipped in some money as well and all of that. Are there any good things you've seen your parents do that you would like to take with you if you start your own family? And what are some of the things that you think, oh no, I'm not going to take this with me?
One thing I'll definitely take is the principles instilled into their children, because I find that all of my siblings, even though we're all on our different paths, we still adhere to those principles. You know, so that's something I'll definitely take into consideration. And I feel like one thing about my parents, they were quite open-minded. So that's why I find for me and my siblings, I mean, they could probably speak differently, but for me especially, as much as they were strict, they also helped us to understand that, you know what, you still have to do what you have to do. You have to make that choice. And so that's kind of what I go by in terms of my leadership as well. And so that's something that I can say I definitely took from them. Yeah.
What wouldn't you take? What would you say, oh God, that bit is too old school?
I
like that.
That's a very interesting question. I think with them, stewardship a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, stewardship. I think they could have done a little better. As much as they helped us in terms of getting through school and everything, I still feel it was very important for them to teach us stewardship, like lessons to come from them first. Yeah, because obviously I feel like this is something that kind of goes within the Ghanaian community, where kids grow up and not really taught much about stewardship, in terms of money handling, assets to put your money into, with regards to buying a house and all those kinds of things. Yeah, I think that's something I could say. I wish my parents would have probably taught me a bit better. But yeah, apart from that, it's still a lesson learned.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So in wrapping up, what message do you have for parents, carers, adults, and what message do you have for your peers?
Okay, so for the parents, do not focus so much on what you did not get and you're going to provide for your children. Make sure they are able to somewhat experience what you've experienced by being transparent about it. Because the only way for kids to understand you is for you to be real with them. And then to the young people, my peers, I would say now is the time that as much as you are calling for people to be real, let's start being real with ourselves, because right now we're living in a world where people don't know who they are. And it's high time that you do know who you are in order for you to progress, in order for you to move forward. And there's a lot of people that need your impact. And so you knowing who you are, knowing your purpose, knowing your calling, that's something that you need. So that's what I would say.
Excellent, Pastor Kwame. Should we expect to hear more music from you as an individual and also from your group, Anointed Saints?
Definitely, both individually and Anointed Saints. I'm someone, in terms of music, is a passion of mine. So I love to do vocal arranging. I'm also kind of working on, hopefully one day, producing music as well.
Yeah, okay.
And as for Anointed Saints, we have an EP coming up very soon.
What is EP?
Extended long play. So it's like a short album. Yeah. So it just a group of songs, or an album that's kind of comprised of about 4 to 6 songs.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what an EP is. And so yeah, we'll be releasing that. We're trying to do it by the end of 2021.
Yeah.
So songs have been recorded. Right now, we're just in the process of the mixing and mastering, and then also the promotional material and everything as well.
Perfect. Well, I can help with that. We can talk about it on radio as well.
Definitely.
But if people want to get hold of you or the group and know a bit more about your work, do you have any social media platforms that we can share?
Yes. So you can find me on Facebook, Kwame Sarpong. Also on Instagram as well, sapong.k. You can also find Anointed Saints on there, anointed_saints as well. And we're also on Facebook, just Anointed Saints. YouTube as well, Kwame Sarpong or Anointed Saints as well. So that's where you can find me.
Perfect. We can't go wrong there. So we know how to get hold of him, especially any potential young ladies. Then, yeah?
Yeah.
There is this game I want to play with you before
Sure.
we end the chat. So I just go with the first thing that comes to your head.
Okay.
Heads or tails?
Sure. Heads.
Ghana jollof rice or Caribbean? No, Nigerian jollof rice.
Ghana jollof rice.
Why is that?
Just the way forward.
Yeah. Mommy or daddy?
Ooh, neither.
You have to pick one.
Well, this is tough. Okay, let me go for mommy.
Oh, okay, why?
Yeah. I don't know. I have a soft spot for mum.
Ah.
Yeah.
Church or party?
Church. Yeah.
Facebook or Instagram?
Before I would have said Facebook,
Uh-huh.
because Facebook is very entertaining, but now I'm getting to see more stuff on Instagram,
Yeah.
and especially there's a bit more of a reach as well. So Instagram.
Perfect. And last but not the least, brother or sister?
Well, I have 3 brothers, so I'm just going to go with sister.
Perfect. Marjoa?
Yeah,
I
my
hear she turns a special age at some point soon, doesn't she?
Yes, she's going to be turning 18 very soon.
Perfect. So on that note, Pastor Kwame, thank you very, very much for coming on the NYN Show.
Thank you for having me.
If you've been watching Pastor's story and you feel inspired by it, of course you can contact him and his group, or him or his group on the social media channels that we've got on the screen. But also, if you've been inspired to share your story, please do contact us because we'll be happy to chat to you as well. Good luck then, and thank you for watching. God bless you. See you again soon. Bye.